All right, here we go. So, this is the first episode of this podcast that I'm shooting. My name is Luis Ramirez, and the podcast is going to be a Spanglish podcast that brings essentially fascinating stories and conversations to the listeners about entrepreneurship, culture, grit, determination, passion, travel, and current social issues. Basically, things that are passionate to me and hopefully to the listeners as well. It's going to be an evolving process, like any other podcast. It develops as we go. So that's my hope, right? To bring people in, have those conversations, and continue developing throughout this beautiful process of launching this podcast and recording. So today's the 13th day of the quarantine for me and my family. This is being shot in Columbus, Ohio. Um, Again, my name is Luis Ramirez, and as an entrepreneur, this has been I've been feeling the pain like any other entrepreneur out there, small business, large business, corporations, whatnot, with the impact to the economy. So the company that I launched back in 2017, November of 2017, is called Fidelis, and throughout the process of launching the company has evolved from the original the original company that was established. Now, essentially, it's called Fidelis NA for North America LLC, and we and the company focuses on risk management for businesses. To be honest with you, I'm having a tough time deciding the future path of the company. I'm thinking that it's just going to be like any other small business out there is feeling the impact. And the operations have pretty much ceased, which means that it's probably going to go downhill from there, like a lot of other businesses. Again, my business is not immune, although you would think that as a risk management company, we would be out there, plugging along. But companies right now are struggling to keep their doors open. So therefore, any type of unnecessary services may not be what they're looking for. Although, I can make the argument that all day that the services that Fidelis has to offer is crucial. But that's not the point of this podcast. This podcast is um, going to be an outlet, really, for people, entrepreneurs, to come on board and discuss what they've gone through, their challenges. Especially going to be an outlet for me because I love talking to people. So that's the main reason why I decided to launch this podcast. I love talking to people. I love connecting with people. And the fact that right now I cannot connect with people, I guess it's having an impact on me as well. So here we go. So the first podcast. So why would you want to listen to this podcast? Like I mentioned before, conversations. I love having conversations with people, and no matter the situation, no matter the location, I'm always trying to engage with people, always trying to learn who they are, their names, and essentially get to know who they are. Because that, with me, that inspires me, motivates me to be a better person, inspires me to seek better opportunities anywhere and learn from them. So that's the format of this podcast. Essentially, it's going to be me with another person, interviewing that person, having a conversation with that person, and hopefully, when this virus gets better throughout the U.S. or the world, really, because it's not a U.S. problem throughout the world, I'll be able to have these conversations, these podcasts out there instead of in my house while my child is sleeping, right? So. And we'll get more into the coronavirus. I'm not trying to make this into the coronavirus conversation, but I'm not going to be able to avoid talking about it. But again, I love talking to people, so that's kind of the reason why I decided to do this podcast. And the format of this podcast is going to be conversational format. Um, Motivation to me is a huge part of who I am. When people say I can't do something, it kind of motivates the shit out of me to get out there and do something about whatever it is that topic has been discussed. And I'll get into more of that later. I'm hoping to bring in a great friend of mine into this podcast, and because of him, I got motivated to do ultra marathons. So again, people motivate me, whether it's with through their personal life stories or their professional stories. Really, I think we all have a story to share, whether it's a good thing that happened in your life that shaped the course of your life, or a negative, what you think is a negative thing that kind of shaped your life. Those negatives are actually opportunities to make something better of yourself, of your situation, and come out on the other side much stronger. And I think that's kind of the feeling that we're all having right now, where with through this coronavirus. And again, day 13, I've been listening to a lot of different conversations, snippets, and I think I want to do my part, because this has been on my mind for a very long time, creating a podcast, but I just haven't had the time. Now that I do, hey, let's launch it, right? People also inspire me all the time. So I get inspired to do better and help whenever I can when I have conversations with people, because people typically they when they share their stories, it kind of provides that fuel that I need to be able to say, you know what, fuck it, I'm gonna try to help out to make their life a lot better, and that's kind of who I am. No matter who it is that I've engaged with, if I do see that there's a glimpse of hope that I could help out, I'm gonna do that, because at the end of the day, that person's life is gonna be better. It's not gonna cost me much to actually give them the extra push, and that's kind of what I want to do with this podcast. I want to motivate, inspire people through people's stories, right? So in a nutshell, it's going to be an interview format to capture stories and share those stories, which may help the listener improve their life, and through motivated stories telling and inspirational conversations. So, what motivated me to do this podcast? Well, uh, like I said before, I think I've been thinking about this for a very, very long time. Ever since I launched the my risk management business, Fidelis NA, I've been thinking about it. I thought about it, but the fact that I was servicing clients in the pre-K to 12 system, creating new products in the safety and security realm, I just didn't have time. I had to essentially, focus on the matter at hand, which was servicing my clients through customized risk management solutions. And those risk management solutions, they ran a gamut from safety and security at the building for people, and also their assets, right? So asset management, compliance, loss control, those type of products were the type of products that whenever a problem was presented, through the conversations or whatnot, the customized package was created for that client to be able to mitigate those risks and avoid any potential loss financially, or any assets to that business. Um, it's a great business to be in. I enjoyed every single aspect of it. I enjoyed my clients, and even through my client engagements, I was always having a conversation, because I think at the end of the day, it's all about relationships, right? Business is all about relationships, and that's the crux of this podcast. Like I mentioned, it's all about people. And as an entrepreneur, I want to bring in other entrepreneurs to kind of share their stories of how they got to where they are, their current challenges, because the challenges that I'm having right now are not the only challenges out there, right? There's a lot of different people out there that are having these same challenges. So um, I want to be able to focus on those stories of grit, those stories of determination, like I've mentioned before, passion, because at the end of the day, all those things kind of formulate who you are as a person and as a business as well. Also, travel. I love to travel. As you see over here, I have the map of a canvas of a map of the world. And I've traveled to 28 different countries, and I think traveling has made me a better person to understand people, understand cultures. I love food, so those things are going to be um, what motivated me here, is to share that and learn from other people through having this type of conversations, right? So, most importantly, another part of this, I want to get to when we're having conversations with these individuals that I'm going to be bringing on. I want to get to the crux of who is that person, right? Meaning that there's always some type of secret, I guess, or something that's deep down inside that has made you or made that person who they are. So, as an example, it's taken me a long time to actually come to terms with this, but I had a sister. She passed when she was very young. She didn't go past 2 months old. And when I was studying at the Ohio State University, we had a project. Uh, and that project was essentially discovering your true north. And that discovery phase for me was that shit. Why is it? Who am I? That's pretty much the nutshell of the project. And I came to find out that I ask a lot of questions. I'm very inquisitive. I'm always learning. But the reason why I'm always learning, and the reason why I'm always inquisitive, and the reason why I ask a lot of questions is because of that experience I had when my sister passed away when I was roughly 11 years old, right? So during that time, things were kept in the dark for me. I was not provided enough details for me to truly understand the dynamics of what was going on in my life. So now that I'm an adult, I've asked a lot of questions. It doesn't matter the situation. If when I was in corporate America, working for Mercedes-Benz, as an example, I would ask questions as far as the programs that we were creating. Sometimes my bosses would get annoyed. So fuck what, right? But that's who I was. I was always asking questions. I don't know they got annoyed, but it made me a better person to understand why the fuck are we doing this? Why are we creating this program? But at the same time, it allowed me to contribute better to whatever projects that we had. Um, so when I was at the MBA program, I realized that uh, the fact that I asked a lot of questions, inquisitive, was because of that one moment in my life that has defined me to my adulthood of today, of having conversations, talking to people, digging deep and doing root cause analysis to find out more on the topic, find more on the project. And at the end of the day, that allowed me to develop who I am. So that's kind of the other element of these conversations that I hope that people, dig deep and find out who are they, what shaped them throughout their life, the course of their life. What are the future podcasts that listeners should be expecting to listen to here with me? Um, Entrepreneurship is going to be a big part, really. Like I alluded before, I want to bring in entrepreneurs and just have a conversation. I think entrepreneurship is the backbone of this economy, of any economy around the world. People get really ingenuitive when they're creating, when they see a problem, and they come up with great solutions to tackle that problem. And I think entrepreneurs have a lot to offer to corporate America, or just not corporate America, just corporations around the world, really. And we learn so much throughout the process that I think a lot of people that have fear of failure or fear of risk or just fear of the unknown, I think entrepreneurs could really teach a lot of people out there with when they're facing uncertainty, when they're facing fear, or there's a lot of risk out there. And I think right now with the coronavirus, there's a lot of fear of the unknown. There's a lot of fear of the risk that they're facing with their personal finances, with their health, with their jobs, and et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. And I think all of us have a unique perspective on this, but um, I think entrepreneurs have something to share with people. Um, Sports, that's another thing too that I'm thinking would be of value to the listeners, because sports, you have to use a complete mindset, mind, body, and soul to be able to reach that your pinnacle. And for me, a touchstone for me has been running, really ultra marathon runs. So I'll get into that a little bit later. But I think sports could teach people here how to be motivated, inspired, and overcome challenges. Really. Also, I'm hoping to bring in some business executives. I think they have some pretty unique ways of thinking, and those executives always have, in my opinion, have taught me a lot about life, a lot about business, and I think a lot of people could learn about how to apply those managerial skill sets into their life to face uncertainty or risk, or make some tough decisions, make some tough challenging thoughts. Culture, I mentioned before, culture. Again, the map behind me is a important part of my life. I love to travel. I love to just pick a location in the world and just say, you know what, screw it. I'm just gonna go there, and not really plan my itinerary. I don't like doing itineraries when I travel. Although I do plan as far as if I'm going to a country, I want to know, the safety and security of that country, and find out the streets, and do as much reconnaissance before I go there. But as far as mapping out day one, I'm gonna go. No, that's not who I am. I just like to just literally wing it when I get there and say, you know what, I'm gonna just these are the top things that I might want to do. Like I went to Rio de Janeiro in Brazil, and they're fascinating. I knew I wanted to go to Ipanema. I knew I was going to go to Rio de Janeiro, um, but then I just went with it. Meaning that when I got there, I knew that there were things that were going to happen while I was there during the World Cup that they had. Um, but as far as planning, I'm not a daily planner when I travel. But again, that's another topic that I'd like to that I think the listeners would like to listen to. Stories about grit and determination, like I mentioned before, and stories that are culturally devoted to the social issues that we have right now, whether it be it music, whether it's politics, right? I think politics is a huge topic as well. Um, but it's going to be a nonpartisan. I like to talk about politics. I do have a master's in international relations. And also studied not political science, but just diplomacy and international relations, which is kind of similar as political science. It's a lot of politics. That's the reason why I said that, because there's a lot of political um, topics that were studied uh, in in, uh, in diplomacy and international relations. So I would like to bring in people that are willing to have an open point of view conversation on pretty much all those topics. Um, and hopefully I get some sponsors. So right now, since this is my first episode, I clearly have no sponsors. Although I can say that my former company, Fidelis, like I mentioned, I could throw that in there as a plug, but not sure if there's any companies out there looking for any type of the services that Fidelis was offering before in the safety and security, risk management, business continuity, planning. But unfortunately, the business has taken a hit. It's not operating right now. So therefore, since I have no customers, hey, uh, can't go out there and say, hey, Fidelis. But anyway, so sponsors, looking forward to hopefully getting some sponsors and helping businesses maintain their business through these type of conversations. That way we could throw in some sponsors as well. So uh, last but not least, I'd like to basically finish this first podcast by talking about some tips. I guess through we're all all over the world. We're all living through this crazy time right now. That a lot of us are pretty much quarantined. Um, so I think I would like to take this opportunity to bridge some of the experiences that I have had in running a several ultra marathons, something that's near and dear to my heart. I've been, in several different ultra marathons, which I've failed in so many of them. I've had, in my opinion, great success in all of them, really, whether it's a failure or not. I've learned throughout the entire process and the journey. Let me just be clear: I am not a speed demon. I take my time. I think that's really what separates, from my perspective, from my opinion, ultramarathon running compared to a 5K or a marathon. And I've done several marathons. I've done several 5Ks, 10Ks. Um, but I've always gravitated to the ultra marathons because I could take my time. Number one, it's a crazy analogy that I like telling people that when I started realizing that I'll pay shit, I think it was like I don't know, $20, $30 for a 5K or a 10K, whatever, or a marathon. I ran the New York Marathon before, so I launched maybe 12 years ago. I launched a nonprofit organization called Global CDH, and the mission of Global CDH was essentially to raise funds and funds that would help out the research of congenital diaphragmatic hernia, and also to help out families affected with children born with congenital diaphragmatic hernia. My daughter, she was born with a diaphragmatic hernia, and what that really means is basically that there's a hernia in her diaphragm. Or in children's diaphragms when they're born, and therefore the congenital part, right? Diaphragmatic, the diaphragm, and the hernia, right? So, anyway, so there was a hernia, a hole in her diaphragm and my daughter's diaphragm, and basically anything that was supposed to be under the diaphragm came up to her chest, and her little lungs and her little heart, was pretty much underdeveloped. Um, so her heart was not in the right place. It shifted over. One of her lungs wasn't able to develop the one of the lobes that she needed, and because of that, complications had led to pulmonary hypertension, as an example, one of those things. So right now her immune system is compromised, right? So because this coronavirus kind of it led me to discuss this for that same reason. So throughout the process, I launched Global CDH, and I was able to get people to run the New York Marathon because of the sponsorships that came through the process of actually connecting with the New York Marathon committee, that they gave us the ability to give some people the ability to run the New York Marathon by raising some funds for Global CDH. So throughout that process, I learned that, hey, I could definitely run marathons, and I knew that I had a very strict goal of breaking. I think it was like a 4 hour time at that time, but I never could, and I realized that I think my best time in New York Marathon was like 4:30 something. It was around 4:30, but I still had the energy and the passion to continue running. Something was definitely off with me, I think. And one of these people, which I hope to get him on this podcast in the future, he was always telling me, dude, during that time I was running back-to-back marathons, or back-to-back 5Ks or half marathons. And he was trying to help me out by saying, hey, it's a risk for you to run back-to-back races. Um, I didn't see the risk. I felt that it was pretty cool that I still had the energy, the passion, and determination, and the energy to continue going. That's just I happened to stumble upon an article, I think it was, that was talking about these individuals that were going beyond the marathon. So as throughout the reading process, I realized that, hey, there's people out there that are actually doing this, but longer, with 50 miles or 100K, which is roughly 66 miles or 60 miles around there, or 100 miles. Some even do 200, 500 miles. And to me, I found that so intriguing, so motivating, so inspiring. Again, circling back to the beginning of this podcast, and I decided, you know what, I'm going to try this out, and I did. I went into signed up for one of my first ones that I did was 100K. Never trained for it. Never had a plan. Never I just fucking just jumped into it. And that's gonna one of the first tastes of the ultra marathons that I did. Um, Actually, I just remember that before that one, it was a 50K that I tried. That one I did finish. It took me a very long time to actually do that 50K. But after that 50K, I went into that 100K that I mentioned. So I figured, hey, I did the 50K. I've done a marathon, which is 26 miles. I've done a 50K, which is roughly 30 miles around there, 30 something, 30 plus miles. And then I was like, hey, I could just double it and do a 100K. Not hard, right? Well, shit. Um, it was tough. It was in the middle of the heat in New York, in the state of New York, not the city of New York, the New York State. Um, and man, I it was a looped course, and I think when I passed like the 30th mile, no, the 26th, 27th mile around there, I had one more loop to go, and so, basically I was face first, vomited all over the place, blacked out. Some hikers pretty much just found me. Luckily, found me, came to. I had dirt all over my chest, my face, vomit all over the place, and they pretty much just helped me come up to stand up and come to. And I realized that I was out for some while. I blacked out, man. I blacked out completely. It was a scary moment for sure, but I got up, took my runner number off, walked back to the starting line and turned in my number. And the next thing that happened, I think, was the definitive moment of what shaped me in my ultramarathon experience. Um, the race coordinator, director, pretty much just said, "Hey, no, you keep the number. You earned it." Um, and I found that pretty odd, really, because in marathon running, it's just, everybody, the coordinators and every volunteer, they do a fabulous job, but they're all dedicated to that craft, and they're so focused on it that they, in my opinion, in my experience, a runner is just a number. However, in the ultramarathon world, every runner counts, and I saw that at that moment, that every single runner, whether you fail or are successful, it's a value, right? So I think that was really one of the definitive moments that I went ahead and signed up for a 50 miler right after that, because I wanted to just try something a little bit less than 100K, but I wanted to test out the 50 miler. And that 50 miler was Virgil Crest in New York, and by far one of the best races I've ever done was that one. Beautiful scenery, beautiful landscape. And with that being said, this is the topic that I want to just bring in some coronavirus tips for you to go through while you're in quarantine with this coronavirus. So thinking positive, and omitting negative thoughts is my number one, really. And thinking like an entrepreneur, I think if you think positive through any. Right now we all have a problem, right? The problem is the coronavirus. Depending on your particular situation, you have to essentially think positive, because for me, I have my wife, for example. She has sickle cell, and her immune system is compromised. If I get sick, uh, and potentially make her sick, it could be a deadly situation for her, because pneumonia is one of the biggest things that she has struggled with when she's gone through her crisis way before the coronavirus. So I have to be cautious with that. Nevertheless, I still have to think positive now, right? That that we are going to get through this, and I encourage you, as the number one tip, is to think positive as well. And I think the ultramarathon running, the experience that I've had in the ultramarathons, has essentially helped me right now think positive, because in an ultramarathon, so many shit could go wrong. Meaning that on game day, before you go to game day, you have to, number one, consider which race it is that you're going to be in, and you have to plan ahead a lot, and decide, make a decision which race that you're gonna engage in, and once you make that decision and commit to that, you have to start thinking positive from that point on. The race could be a year before you actually go and run, but you have to think positive before that, and omit any negative thoughts. Meaning that, let's say you sign up for a race, for an ultramarathon race that's 100 miles. You start thinking negative from the moment you pay and you start thinking negative, it's going to be an uphill battle before you actually put your toes on the starting line. So first tip is think positive and omit negative thoughts. Um, think like an ultra marathoner, meaning that you want to shift your mindset, um, and think that and know that this is your new reality. Obviously, depending on where you are in the country or in the world, you may be facing this at a very different time. Like for us, like I mentioned, this is day number 13. Meaning that 13 days ago, we decided just to fucking hunker down. We cannot risk the health and safety of our family. So we had to shift our mindset that this is our new reality. And I say that because, you know, uh, setting clear expectations up front is going to help you get through this. Meaning that when I was doing ultra marathons, I knew that, hey, once I made that commitment that I was going to go run 100 miles or 200 miles, I set that expectation in my mind, that, hey, I've signed up for this and now I'm going to carry it through. Right. So right now, I guess setting expectations that, hey, this is our new reality, our new norm. Let's figure shit out as we go through this. It's going to help you create that mindset, that's critical. That way you can connect your body to that as well, because mindset and body go hand in hand. If you start thinking negatively, forget about it. I think it's going to be hard to overcome that. You could definitely overcome it, but it's going to be much more challenging to overcome it. Take this seriously, right? Listen to the data. Listen to data and science, and put politics aside. Is my recommendation here. Meaning, so let's try to connect that to the ultramarathon world. So when I was running, I relied heavily on data, and I still do. I have this great functioning Garmin, that when I go out there and run, I'm generating data right now. I'm not running an ultramarathon tomorrow. I'm not running one in 6 months. However, my experience with ultramarathons was that as I was training, I was always gathering data through my Garmin, and getting back and analyzing that data to be able to self-improve, right? It's all about self-improvement. So the second tip that I would have is take this seriously. Look at the data and listen to the scientists instead of just going with one political side or the other. You could only improve on what you can measure, right? And if you were able to measure it, you could make progress on that. So that's kind of where I'm saying, let's my tip was to look at data and look at the science. Also, although I did say before that when I travel, I just like to travel without planning. When I do ultra marathons, I learned the hard way that developing a schedule during my ultra marathon was really successful. Um, and I'll give you an example. So the tip is that to develop a schedule for your particular situation. That way you could get through this, be it for family, for work, if you want to rest, or also going outdoors. So as an example, so why did I fail that race in Virtual Crest, when I did the 100K? It's because in my opinion, I didn't have a plan. I didn't have a schedule. I just said, you know what? I've done a half marathon. I've done a marathon. I've done a 50K. I was successful in the half marathon because I was, hey, just fucking run. I learned that in the Marine Corps. Just do it, and I did it. Same thing for the marathon. I trained. I didn't need to create a chart. I knew that 4:30 was my max, so therefore I did that. But when I went into the 100K again, I didn't plan it. I just went with it. By the time I actually went and did the 50 miler, again, I didn't map that out. By the time I actually signed up for the Vermont 100, which was by far one of the unique races that I've ever done, I stopped in my tracks and said, hey, wait a second, I could actually do this without a plan, without a schedule, or I could actually look at the vast amount of data that I've already accumulated whether number one it was training, whether it was actual races. So I compartmentalized all that data into one, my training data and my race data, and I created a chart that a chart that allowed me to create a schedule for my race in Vermont 100. And one of the pacers, or I guess the only pacer that I had was Mishka Shugali. He's a great author, great artist, musician. So he paced me, and I showed them my schedule. I showed them, hey, this is how I am going to come under 24 hours in this race. I don't know what the fuck he was thinking, but he was probably thinking this guy is a fool. This guy's crazy, but that's who I am, right? I'm crazy, and I guess I'm a fool sometimes, and I decided to roll with it. And I showed them again the plan when he came in. At I think it was towards my second third of the race, and he was pacing me throughout the entire time. I said, "Hey, this is what we're gonna do. We're gonna do." I think it was like 14-minute, between 12-minute and 14-minute miles to be able to come in under 24. By the time that he actually came up, so I was doing a lot of math, a lot of algorithm while I was running to keep me, to keep my mind sharp and pace. And he was shocked that I was still coherent and able to make on the spot calculations based on my schedule to alter the schedule. But guess what? It fucking worked. And I enjoyed the fact that I came in under 24 hours because of that schedule, and obviously his help as well. So again, develop a schedule. I think it will definitely help you out throughout your course of your day. And that schedule, I suggest not making it for 15 days. I suggest making it for longer than that, because we just don't know how long this is going to last. Speaking of which, also still exercise. I think the fourth tip or the fifth tip, whatever this would be, is enjoy the outdoors if you can, right? So for me, I'm still going outside and running. I also go walking with my family. But whatever it is that you have to do to continue being engaged with your body, I suggest that you still go out there and be smart and work out a little bit, meaning running, walking, biking, whatever it is. Just move your body, right? Uh, during that time, I've done this with my 3-year-old now. Just stop and listen to the birds, listen to the wind, connect with nature. Because now I think, although the world has stopped, then we can make an argument that the world is actually enjoying, the lack of carbon monoxide that's being emanated, that has not been introduced again into the world. So, the air has been purified. I think I'm not a scientist, but I think with there's been some stories that I've read that the climate change, it has benefited a little bit from the fact that the whole world has pretty much paused for a little bit. Also, try to document your in a journal, all your experiences through this quarantine. So that's something that I did with my ultra marathons. Afterwards, I just sat down and just wrote down some of the experiences that I have had, and I have right now is pretty much uh, uh, I crack up now because I start reading the shit that I used to write before. So it's a place for me to actually reflect on some of the things that I did before. So again, that's a recommendation, is to journal, document in a journal everything that you're going through right now. As a matter of fact, one of the things that I started to do way before we all went into quarantine was launching a line of journals and planners. And one of the planners that one of the journals that I actually ended up launching is called the Quarantine Journal. You can find that on Amazon. It's called the Quarantine Journal. You can find that on Amazon. I'll have a link here later for you. But you could use that as an example to basically jot down your experiences, draw your experiences, because with my ultra marathons, I could go back now and read the crazy stuff that I used to write, and just be amazed at what I wrote and reflected on. So And then the last one is communication. I think ultra marathons was a huge one of the biggest parts of ultra marathons is that you could actually communicate and talk to people throughout the course of you running. So that's another thing that I think, another tip that I would like to bring in here. So connecting the ultra marathon experiences that I've had into this crazy quarantine that we're all facing right now. So let me run through these tips again. Think positive, and eliminate negative thoughts. Think like an ultra marathoner, which means shift your mindset, and face your new reality. Right. Take the situation seriously, like I mentioned before, meaning that let's look at data and science over politics. Develop a schedule. Enjoy the outdoors. Document your experiences in a journal, and also communicate with friends, families. You can still do so with your smartphones, right? You don't have to gather in crowds because that's not recommended. So communicate with your smartphones. Um, so with that being said, I'd like to close off this podcast and welcome you to this podcast. If there's anybody out there that would like to be part of this, meaning that if you'd like to have a conversation on air with me, please get a hold of me. You can get a hold of me by emailing me, and you'll have the information here, as you can see. But email me, and we'll be able to coordinate a time that we could have a conversation, be recorded, and share your story. So again, my name is Luis Ramirez, and this is my podcast. So looking forward to growing. This is my first one, so this is not perfect, and I know that. But I wish that if you enjoy it, let me know. If you don't, also let me know, and let me know how I can improve to be able to make these much better. And hopefully next time I could introduce some Spanish into it, because that this is going to be a Spanglish one. But I'm just talking right now, so hopefully in the future I have it. So we spoke about today. I introduced the podcast, introduced myself, why you would want to be here and listen to it, what motivated me to do this, and spoke about the future episodes that you should be expecting, looking for sponsors, and also some tips on the coronavirus. So again, my name is Luis, and I'm out.